Yeah, my joint pains have eased, my brain fog has gone, I've got full flexibility of my shoulder. It's a fantastic add-on to your self-care. This profound practice of reconnecting with your vulva and taking a space just for at least one evening a month to care for yourself. And it's an incredibly profound practice. It's nothing sexual, or it's just self-care from the place often as women that we've been told is dirty and we should hide it and we shouldn't look at it, we shouldn't touch it, we shouldn't talk about it.
Today's guest is Sarah Hughes-Wade. Sarah is a mum, yoga teacher, and a passionate advocate for women's health, using the natural power of Mother Nature to promote healing and well-being. With a deep love of Ayurvedic practice, yoga, and meditation, she aims to help others reconnect with their bodies and inner wisdom. As a long life entrepreneur, she has helped build her family business rooted in sustainability and wellness. Welcome, Sarah.
Hello, welcome. It's so nice to be here.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Well, I'm seriously excited for this conversation and to learn a few things.
Yes, I'm really excited to share. It's a bit of a niche subject, but just think about it being open-hearted, gaining some insight into how we can kind of heal naturally. It's a really exciting topic.
Yeah, absolutely. So, with that said, what's one of the most courageous things that you have done?
Oh, blimey, that's quite a big question, and I've been rabbling with it. I think it has actually been taking back my power, having like a sovereignty, having authority over my health and my well-being, and kind of questioning, I suppose. That was the most courageous thing I did back over 20 years ago. I was going through deep anxiety, depression, and I went to the doctors as a young girl and said no to antidepressants. And that's where the journey of yoga and meditation, and then it all started from there, basically. So that courageous step of saying something doesn't feel right, but I don't want to take a pill and just put the lid on top. So,
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more on that topic. Absolutely. I believe in getting down to the core of it, not just masking things over.
yes, I mean, it's imperative, really, I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but it's been a journey, a lifelong study, a sense of inquiry. Yeah.
Wow. Is that what took you on your journey of being a yoga teacher?
Yeah. So something really massively significant happened to me in my teenage years. I'm the eldest of three, and my mum was pregnant with my younger brother, and there was a big age gap. It's 15 years. And I was 15 at the time, and my uncle was dying from HIV.
Okay.
And I was at that pivotal point in a young girl's life where you're kind of coming into your puberty and thinking about boyfriends. And then my mum was having a baby, and that was a bit weird, and because I was 15, and it just felt a lot. So then my uncle actually died of AIDS, 1989, and I became there was this pivotal moment with life and death. My brother was being born, my uncle was dying. We had to go through that as a family. As a really, not many people knew of people that were HIV positive, and I couldn't, I had an amazing group of friends actually at the age of 15, and some of those friends are still my friends today. So I became very much fearful of having a female body and sex and relationships, and fearful. And it was like a pivotal point in my life as a girl, as a woman. And so the anxiety really kicked in. I didn't do that great at school because of both those situations in my life. I didn't have the space to I didn't have the headspace to study really. So, or do my GCSEs very well. So when my friends were getting like 8 GCSEs, I was coming out with 4, and then, those kind of things. So I had this point in my life where I had just extreme anxiety. And at the age of 20, I walked into a very bright sports hall and took my first yoga class and just thought I nearly crumpled on the yoga mat. I was, oh my God, there's something to help. And that's where I had my first experience of yoga. I went to the doctor. They wanted to they couldn't really help. You've got a 10-minute slot, haven't you? And I didn't want to take the antidepressants. So I knew there was another way. And that's what I turned to: yoga, meditation, that kind of thing. So that's the pivotal kind of point, I suppose, of this journey, of that unlocking the fear of being a woman and everything that encapsulates relationships, sexual and not sensual, being sensual, but breaking away from that fear.
Absolutely.
So that's where it all kind of started. Then I went on to have three daughters and just a busy family business. We own a campsite in Norfolk. My parents owned that like a big piece of land, and I was just absorbed in that really. But then there was a point. And another pivotal point, all these things in life, you don't really think they mean much, but they actually do. I got a rebate from something like, I don't know, some kind of rebate from the government. It was about 890 quid. And then came into my existence this yoga teacher training course with the British Wheel of Yoga. And the teacher was 10 miles away in a little village, in a little town called Swaffham. So one afternoon, I took my husband and my 2 kids at the time and said, and it was massive, it was like nearly £1,000. And we were a young family. And I said to Matt, do you think I could use all of this money and do the teacher training? And he could actually, that made me cry. But he said yes. So if he had said, no, we need to decorate the bathroom, then I wouldn't have done it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that simple pivotal moment, I then did the 3-year yoga teacher training course. And it changed my life for the better.
Wow.
And it is emotional today, Anita.
Go with it.
Yeah, so that was a really special moment. And then I started learning how to teach yoga. And then my dad bought a book from this incredible woman called Maya Tawari. And he said he'd heard her on Radio 4 and I would love her. So I got her book. I read it back to back. I've still got it to this day, and it's all mushed up and like the pages are falling out and everything. And I kind of just fell in love with everything about her, everything she taught. She is an Ayurvedic. I don't really like the word guru, but she is a teacher, a profound woman that is, her lineage comes from the Vedas. So her lineage in the whole kind of sages, she's a very, very special woman. And I found this practice called Uttaravasti.
Okay.
And so, it's just been a little bit of like a stepping stone to where we are today. So Uttaravasti is an ancient, almost forgotten practice of vulva, vagina and womb bathing.
Wow.
And it is profound, and it helps women with it actually, in her book, it actually like helps women deal with all kinds of trauma. Because obviously HIV and AIDS was huge in America and New York back in the 80s as well. And she does talk
Absolutely.
about helping people with sexually transmitted
Mm-hmm.
diseases. She focuses very much on women, sorry, not so much on men, but she does kind of, she's not only women,
Mm-hmm.
but she really does believe, like, if we can empower and take back our authority of women's health, then that will just help the world globally with that Shakti power, that kind of goddess, inner goddess, wisdom, really. So I did a couple of her courses. I got the joy, the privilege of meeting her online.
Wow.
And that was actually on my birthday. And I knew that miracles were possible. I just really, there's something bigger than us
Mm-hmm.
right now. Like, if you just follow the little breadcrumbs of like everyone's, like my journey, I was just following, I was just believing. I think that takes courage as well, just to
Absolutely.
keep having the faith and following the little steps. So I did her Moon Shakti course and I did her Womb Shakti course, and they're just profound healing practices as women. It was pretty incredible, and so I practiced this ancient profound practice called Uttaravasti.
Mm-hmm.
But it's quite out there, really, and it's quite clinical. And I'm in the middle of rural Norfolk, and I can't find any Ayurvedic practitioners that know anything about Uttaravasti. And they're
Wow.
all over in the States, and it's only Mayatawari, and it's
Mm-hmm.
very far away. The practice is getting like a tube and like a saline bag. So it's like quite clinical.
Mm-hmm.
And you make a concoction of herbal elixir tea, so to speak. And then you retire to the bathroom. And at a certain point in the month, you bathe your vulva and your vagina and your womb. And it helps all things with fibroids, period pain, menopausal issues, dry vagina, any sexual like trauma perhaps, or endometriosis, or all these different things that it's stated that it can help. But like, it's a very unusual practice, really. I didn't really have anyone else to talk to, but I was suffering at the time with fibroids. I
Okay.
didn't realize at the time I was perimenopausal and I was
Uh-huh.
bleeding a lot. And I won't go too much into that, but if you've been in perimenopause and you know the extreme bleeding that can happen, it's not very nice. Quite debilitating, restricts you to going out, etc., etc. So I thought, what have I got to lose? I went to the doctor. I was just, again, the same as I did 25 odd years ago. All they want to do is give me HRT, a pessary, a patch, a tablet. And I'm just like, well, one, I've got I don't want to digress too much, but I've got a small issue with my heart,
Okay.
that I can't take the pill
Mm-hmm.
because I used to suffer from migraines a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And there's these things about the pill and strokes, and, so I know it works for lots of people. And again, I want to just make it crystal clear. This isn't like a hate campaign to the medical profession. I think this is a beautiful add-on practice that can be very complementary to people.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought I didn't want to buy a tube and a saline bag and be clinical in my own bathroom. It felt just a bit too invasive, if I'm being completely honest.
Okay.
So I made the concoction and I put it, because I'm a yoga teacher, I put it in a neti pot, which is a thing that you put up your nose. Do you know what a neti pot is? It's
Not
like a
really.
little, it says like a neti pot is, you make a salty water
Okay.
and
Yeah.
you rinse out it's like a sinus rinse.
Mm-hmm.
So you kind of pour it up your nose and it looks quite like a little teapot. So I amended my neti pot and I went to the privacy of my bathroom, and at a certain point of the month, which is during the new moon phase, I practice this vulva bathing, this Uttaravasti, and you can do it several times a month, but I just did it once 1 month, and the next month I did it once again, and the third month I'd come on with the new moon, and my symptoms dissipated, and I just couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
It was so profound. And I was like, because her book, Maya Tawari's book, has like real life studies and stories about how it helps people, and I was reading them, and I'm like, I've just become one of those people that she profoundly has helped me with my perimenopausal and fibroid issues.
Oh, wow.
And then I'm still not on HRT today. The perimenopausal symptoms went, and I just was able to continue my normal life.
That's brilliant. Absolutely
Incredible.
brilliant.
And then my menopausal issues started to rear up a few years later. I was thinking to myself, how can I have a stiff shoulder when I'm a yoga teacher? I'm doing yoga all the time. The brain fog came. That was one of the other reasons I went back to the doctors the next time. And the joint pain. If anyone's going through the menopause and they realise they've got joint pain, it's so painful. So I'd eased off the Uttaravasti practice, and I thought I'd bring it back. And again, my joint pains have eased. My brain fog has gone. I've got full flexibility of my shoulder, and it's a fantastic add-on to your self-care. This profound practice of reconnecting with your vulva and taking a space just for at least one evening a month to care for yourself. And it's an incredibly profound practice. It's nothing sexual, or it's just self-care from the place often as women that we've been told is dirty and we should hide it and we shouldn't look at it, we shouldn't touch it, we shouldn't talk about it. This whole, I don't want to get into this whole thing about men and women, but this whole life society we're living in, it's about crushing women's power, or making them silent, or quietening that voice. When actually this practice, along with other practices, like I've got so many women that are inspiring, have been such an inspiration, just talking about that, whether it's from your vulva, whether it's from your heart space, whether it's from your passion of all these different, like your passion of, could be from your throat space because you're talking, you're doing a podcast. But we've all got this beautiful Shakti power within us, wherever it's, radiating from us. And it's just being able to have the courage to speak and to live from your heart and do what you feel is right, and not actually be frightened. I mean, I've been frightened my whole life. I've been fearful my whole life. I'm that just type of person. But I still just somehow just feel like there's that classic book, isn't it? It's a bit of a cliche, feel the fear and do it anyway.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But that's what I've done. So I've kind of adapted and tweaked and made the Uttaravasti more accessible, I suppose, because when I knew it helped me so much, I wanted my kids to do it. They're young women, they suffer from period pain. I've got family members and friends and other women that are suffering from endometriosis and suffering from infertility. I mean, the figures are skyrocketing.
Yeah, I mean, I've got friends that are as well. Absolutely. Colleagues.
Yeah, there's women that are just struggling right now with all those issues with their wombs or their vaginas or their vulvas. So I knew I didn't really want this clinical thing happening, and I didn't have an Ayurvedic practitioner to go and see. So I adapted it.
Mm,
So I put the herbs in little tea bags that I
okay.
bought. They're all organic. And I grow the aloe vera as in one of the remedies. It's one of the things. So
Hmm.
I grow my own aloe vera and I use the gel for the remedies. So then I started giving them to my daughter and her friends, and just beautiful things started happening. Like one of my daughter's friends, she messaged my daughter and was like, I've just had my first pain-free period in years.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, that is so wow.
Hmm.
So yeah, I've created this through Maya Tawari's like knowledge and profound ancient Ayurvedic practice. I'm developing this idea and this. I've got a little website now, and I'm making the herbs. I'm doing my first workshop at a wellbeing fair. I
Wow.
took it to the Om Yoga show in October in 2024, and alongside we had a stall for our retreat centre. We've got
Uh-huh.
like a campsite. So yeah, so it's just this beautiful thing that I'm creating through yeah, a really hard time in my life, actually. When things were falling apart in the last 2 years, what with family. That's a whole different podcast, family run businesses, because that's crazy. So yeah, maybe I'll come back on one day and talk about family businesses.
Yeah, absolutely. Why not?
But
Yeah.
when things happen, it's actually allowed me to have the space. I've written a book about it, and yeah, and I'm continuing to do this practice, and it's helped me ever so much.
That's brilliant. It's absolutely beautiful to hear. Because for some, it could be a taboo subject. They don't want to talk about it.
Yes. I mean, we're so disassociated with that part of our body generally, and that is a massive
Mm,
conversation in itself. The way that
absolutely.
if women want to acknowledge and be, stand in their power, in their
Mm,
Shakti power, and be confident rather than ashamed. Yeah, that's a whole different
mm,
conversation, isn't it? About women
yes.
and how they build a relationship with themselves, how they care for themselves more, how they love themselves. And it's an incredibly gentle practice. It's
Yeah.
very nurturing and nourishing,
Can
and
imagine. Yeah, definitely.
it's really healing. And I think a lot of women more and more are open to using, a complementary practice. You know,
Absolutely. More than ever now.
yeah,
And people do want natural remedies.
there's a disconnection in that area, I think,
Yeah.
where it's got to be not talked about, and
Mm,
it's disgusting, and it's, oh, I don't want to look at it. I don't want. Oh, it's so neglected. There's almost, when I speak to women, there's almost like a proudness of like, oh, don't look down there. You know, I don't want to have any kind of relationship with it at all. They're so detached, and that comes from like a lifelong, I
yeah,
suppose, society driven thing of like.
absolutely. Yeah.
But I think there's so many women that are so inspiring to kind of share what a
Mm,
beautiful healing practice, a reconnection. There's a really amazing teacher called Regina Tomasua, and she's written a book actually called, it's quite an offensive to some people, called Pussy, a reclamation. I think it's taking back that word, but it can be quite affronting to people. But
mm,
basically, that book is actually really inspiring. Much you can get, for some
yeah.
people, it might be offensive, the
Yeah.
title, but it's actually a reconnection, and it's where your joy. I mean, this encompassing
Mm,
thing. I think what I'm working on is taking all this incredible information and knowledge and inspirational work from people like Regina and Maya Tawari, and there's another incredible teacher called Kimberly Ann Johnson, who works very with somatic work and working with the feelings of the body, not just your
yes.
vagina, but your
Yeah,
this
yeah.
whole somatic
Mm,
experience. I think they've had incredible courage to kind of
Absolutely. Yeah.
be vulnerable of talking about how
Mhm.
can we step into this self
Mm.
care and self-love for ourselves. Each of us have got this unique beauty,
Yes.
and just to kind of be stood in it
Mhm.
with a sense of kind of like curiosity,
Mm.
taking back that sovereignty, that power of like authority of like, how can I heal my body? I'm
Mm.
not going to go to the doctor and just take a pill and then keep on working and and keep on eating and drinking and all those things. Do you know what I mean? It's that self authority, and part of that I truly believe is vulva bathing to help
Absolutely. So you
heal.
mentioned your book. You are the author of the book, The Healing Art of Vulva Bathing,
Yeah.
your personal guide to natural vulva, vagina, and womb wellness. So tell me more about your book and how did that all come about? Or was it from your work and your experiences?
Yeah, so I've always wanted to write a book.
Yes.
I mean, it's not a big novel. It's a self-help guide,
Hmm.
and there's a bit of a backstory about me and how I got into it, and dedication to the beautiful, wise teacher Maya Tawari. And it just explains how to take the vulva bath
Hmm.
and what you can do to prepare. And it's just a little bit like a self-care guide. So it's great to write, and it was almost like a meditation practice in itself. I really enjoyed the practice, but now that kind of it's very solitary writing a book, and it was great. And now I'm looking forward to now sharing it with like in this workshop,
Yeah.
like doing this
Yeah.
podcast. Yeah, I had to. There isn't a drawing of me, but I drew a picture in there from a yoga manual that I got inspiration from.
Hmm.
So basically, all this is about my self journey and how it helped me and heal
Hmm.
naturally. And now it was such a profound practice that I've got first-hand evidence that it did actually help. I wanted to share it with other women that I would just really wanted to do that, because there is an alternative way to heal naturally. And that is becoming friends, like, being friends with your body.
Mm.
And
Absolutely. So tell me more about your work and what that involves and how you help others.
so my work, um, I'm a jack of all trades. Well, to be honest, I am part of a family-owned business.
Hmm.
So we've owned a rural venue, like a campsite, for about 20 years. And it has big parties and we do weddings. Before this call, I've spoken to a couple this morning on an online Zoom call. They're going to get married in 2026. So that's my kind of daytime job. And so I teach yoga part-time currently, although we are moving towards more full-time well-being
Okay.
in the campsite. And because we've been lucky enough to have a family business, we've always been heart led. So we've
Hmm.
been very, 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 very blessed and lucky to really connect with people. And the people that really connect with us, they just come to camp. It's just like they just come and they have an amazing time. And then they go again. And as I got older and perhaps a bit wiser, I realised that events, it can be tiring.
Hmm.
And I turned 50 and I just needed something more nourishing. So I decided to spend much more time on teaching and much more time on creating the Vulva Moon Club, because I
Hmm.
wanted to have an experience where you just didn't want to get used up. When you're in events and they're so busy and so hectic, I needed to, I realized I was out of balance. That's how I started to get into more and more regular teaching. I've got a yoga yurt there. So I teach very slow, steady, sacred hatha yoga, a lot
Hmm.
of meditation. I also do a beautiful yoga nidra at the end. And some of my students laugh because no matter what I teach, the best thing they like it, they call it blankie time, and they just like do their moves, and then they go, oh, blankie time, just lay down and enjoy a really restful, beautiful practice called a yoga nidra.
Yes.
So that's like a yogic sleep,
Mm-hmm.
and it's very nourishing. And I think that's what really is a passion in my life, is to bring a nourishing practice to everyone.
Mm-hmm.
To because it's helped me so much, because you're in events and you're just weddings, you're just on the go, you feel
Mm-hmm.
depleted. And I feel with my yoga practice, my spiritual practice, I've been able to rebalance and recalibrate myself and able to continue, just continue. So yeah, it's a very healing practice of yoga that I teach.
That's brilliant. So, what is one of the most important lessons you've learned over your life so far?
Not to give up. Just that is part of being an entrepreneur. Is you've got to keep going, and don't class any failure as a failure, just as a learning experience. I know it sounds all really cliche but actually it's so true, because and that's where spiritual yoga practice comes in, because it's nothing about being how bendy or flexible you are. It's about being able to recenter yourself, be the witness, don't be absorbed in the story, just be aware, come back to center, practice, be dedicated, have that dedication to your practice, that spiritual practice. It'll profoundly help you in all areas of your life.
You have given us so many tools, daily steps to anyone that wants to focus on well-being naturally. What is your key takeaway?
I would say start small. Don't think about letting anything in your life. You don't need to think, oh, I can't do that, I can't do that, I can't do that. Just add it into your life.
Yes.
Even if it's 5 minutes. So just think, when people say you need to do a meditation for an hour, no, you don't. You just 5 minutes. Do you know what I do in the morning? Even in the depths of my despair, like in the lowest of the low points, when people have, when my father died, there is a place of solace on your yoga mat. It doesn't even have to be a yoga mat. It can be a towel. Get up in the morning, go for a wee, and then get back on the mat. And there is a dedication, there's a commitment, and not all those, those things about being dedicated. It's actually going to help you have that commitment to that practice, and it can be 5 minutes. And if it's too much to get on the mat, then do it in the bed. Just connect with your breath, just the inhale and the exhale, and start small, I would say. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. Don't criticize. You don't have to be in yoga pants. You don't have to have a sports bra on. You can be in bed in your pajamas with your unwashed hair, and just be kind to yourself and practice the gentlest of practices, and slowly you can build up from there.
Brilliant. So where can the listeners find you online, your book? What's your website, Sarah?
So I've actually got two. So for yoga, it's yogisah.co.uk. That's yogisah.co.uk, because my name's Sarah, but everyone calls me Sah. So it's a bit like Yogi Bear, but it's Yogi Sah. For the vulva things, I've actually kept that separate because I didn't want to confuse the issues, and I wanted the Vulva Moon Club to be a standalone thing. And I do hope and pray and wish that this is going to be a global movement.
Yeah.
It's vulvamoonclub.com. So you can message me in both websites there. And if you want to just come camping in Norfolk, you can look up fycamp.co.uk, fycamp.co.uk.
That's brilliant.
I would just like to say thank you to all the women in my life, you included,
Thank
for
you.
asking me onto this podcast. It's been absolutely brilliant to get to know you. And our mutual friends introduced us. She was a beautiful and amazing person.
Yeah.
I'd like to say thanks to everyone, all the women in my life. You've been inspirational, so thank you.
So thank you for sharing your insightful wisdom and knowledge with us today. And by doing so, you have helped so many others and make a difference. I really want to acknowledge you for that. Sarah Hughes-Wade.
Thank you so much, Anita.
My pleasure. So we are all about create the courage to be fearless. What is your definition of courage?
Our definition of courage is to believe in yourself and don't be afraid to believe in yourself and reach out if you need support.